Mr. James Scarlett, this is it, mate. This is it. Bristol tonight, we go again.
Fuck yeah, man. It's at 10 a.m. today. You are coming through the airport terminal, mate, and I'm gonna be holding a sign up says Big Gav. Or maybe I'll hold a We Go Again sign up so you
Aye.
can find me in the arrivals lounge.
Although I have to say, some of my concerns and panic about this going out and tour and doing it were not helped by you wanting to call this episode Tour Starts Tomorrow, considering it's going to be tonight. So that was my first concern when I saw that. I said, "Fuck's sake, James got the days wrong as well."
To be fair, I just got the days wrong again in the fucking intro, didn't I? So you arrive on Wednesday. The pod goes out on Thursday. The recording right now, it's Tuesday. It's fucking confusing, isn't it? I'm confused.
I will. Not really, but you're making it worse. You're making it a lot worse. Yeah, so I'll be tomorrow. You're right. But I was going away with your story there. I was coming on tomorrow. I'll be down there, and then Thursday, the day this comes out, we will be in Bristol that night. So this is it, people. My idea was you were going to get James and I coming on and telling you why we think White Pony's a great episode and a great album. And the weekend after that, or the week after that, we were going to tell you, I don't know, our top three films. And i.e., whatever else we could just get an episode out with. James wasn't. He was quite keen with just ploughing on with a plan. So here we are doing. I take it'll be we're on tour part one and we're on tour part two. So I'm a bit nervous now. It's the last time we spoke, I was a bit like, it's absolutely fine. I'm starting to get the fact that it's like, well, the final bits of the jigsaw getting put in place, and I'm a bit like, shit, it's real. It's all real. It's happening.
Yeah, literally as me and you got on the call, the bingo pans arrived, didn't they? Thanks Amazon for your bingo pans. Couple of clipboards for the it's a shit if you're not watching on YouTube. But yeah, it's fucking real. I mean, honestly, much like in 2007, when 2000 Trees was approaching, I was basically being like, what the fuck was I thinking? I've just piled a load of stress and work onto myself, and we've done that with this. It seems so easy to just be like, come on, Gab, let's go on tour.
Yeah,
Let's get a
and
booking agent.
it's not even a case you think, look, the episode plan's been put together. We have an idea of how that's going to work. The poor people of Bristol will be the guinea pigs. I mean, we're going to look at that and think, oh, that's our hour and a half of content, and then rattle through it in 20 minutes and then sit there staring at each other a blind panic. But we will manage that bit of it. It's all the how do we get the recording onto the laptop? How does the GoPro work? Where do we get pens? I mean, you're saying bingo pens are literally just black biros for the bingo cards, and you're going to get your black biro pen with it. How that's going to work is if you come through the door and you buy an item of merch before the show starts, you will get a free bingo card with a pen to play along with some of our favourite sayings. And should you get a line, you win a curly wurly, and should you get house, you win a hot sauce. So, bits like that are the things that have been more stressful. Making sure you've got the fucking pens in place for people to check when you say we go again, rather than the what we're actually going to go up there and talk about. Because I feel like that side of it, although nerve wracking still to go out on stage at any event, I feel like that bit's a bit right. Okay, we've done that 63 times. If we can't manage it by now, I suppose we never will.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess that is true. It's going to be good. I'm excited and also terrified, but yeah, we've we're going to be ready. It's going to be
Yes.
okay.
In
We
terms
didn't
of
really go on, you go.
In terms of the two, because these are weird ones to record because you're a bit like you get somebody sitting in fucking Finland who listens to this going, "I'm not coming on the tour," you know what I mean? So I just want to hear more about I know Stinky Pete. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Look at these two episodes as bonus content because I probably would have shelved them and James didn't want to. So I bear with us if you're not coming to tour. For those coming to tour, the details are Bristol tonight. Tomorrow, this sold out, I believe, Bristol, even the final guest list tickets that James released. I think those are all gone. You can always go and try and see if any's been handed back in. Birmingham, we sold out tomorrow. Then we go on to Gloucester. There'll be tickets left for that because it's, I don't know, like 5,000 capacity or something the size of that room. So you'll be definitely get tickets for Gloucester. Come and see us on Saturday night. And then London, which is also another big venue at Bush Hall, so there will be some tickets left for that. Come and see us this weekend. Afterwards, we're probably going to do some sort of debrief, I assume, which will be next week's episode.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Definitely a debrief. And look, it's supposed to be behind the scenes podcast, isn't it? You're going to find out behind the scenes stuff in these two episodes. And we've got a bunch of cool questions later on today and some interesting stuff. This will be a good episode, Gav. Don't downplay it. It's
I
going to be great.
know. Gav, don't shit my episode, mate.
Mate, this could be the only episode we ever have listened to together. I can see us, we're going to be in the car driving to Birmingham on Friday. We're going to be, Tom Beckley gets to sit in between me and you, listening to me and you talking on the radio
I cannot think
without it
anything
like,
worse.
it's
I
like a
would rather
director's cut.
listen to the new Mars Volta record than me and you doing a podcast with sitting in the same space. I hate listening to the podcast back when it was just me listening to myself, never mind with you there. So I hope that isn't a thing. But anyway, how's your week?
Good. Well, other than the tour, I don't know what I've done. Fuck all, basically. It's just tour, 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 tour. Um, just had an argument with my brother about whether or not we do a logo poster for Arctangent. I know you have a bee in your bonnet, Gav, about you should if you've got
It's
the
not being my bonnet. I just feel that they look strong. Like we put so much into those visuals, that Metallica logo. I mean, when we've seen T-shirts and posters and lineups so down the years when we see it and it's like a Cult of Luna, fucking Amon Ra, Toxic Holocaust. It's a bit like you just but that I'm excited to see it. Then when you strip it back and understand why it's stripped back, it just loses something like that. I'm still a little bit heartbroken that I never saw my poster with Mogwai explosions in the sky at the top with the logos. Is something, I mean, quite uneventful logos to be fair, but it just there's something to it, and that tangent never had that last year. So who's fighting the fight for logos, Rob?
no me because Rob's the one who's got a battle with the logos. So it's a very time-consuming job at a busy time of year. I think at the moment Rob's won the argument, but we'll see. I live to fight another day. So
Well,
yeah,
listen, however bad Rob thinks he might have it, he can always go and speak to Bry. I mean, Bry gets handed some of them. I mean, can you imagine some of the logos he's had in the years? Those watching on YouTube will see most of them behind me. I mean, Jesus Christ, sometimes you're sending them something like the dragged into sunlight logo. He's like, the fuck am I supposed to do with that? I
well,
mean,
well, also, Brian, Rob was moaning that the announcer, I nearly gave the date away then, but Rob was moaning about the announcement coming in like more than a week's time. And you probably get home, Brian gets home from work on a Wednesday night, and Gav's like, hey, Brian, we're doing an announcement at 9 a.m. Thursday.
we've
Can you?
had we had some shockers. We've had like, aye, right. We'll have days where at 7 o'clock at night, I'll need a tweak or a couple of bands added to a lineup poster with logos that are black metal and death metal logos that I'm putting out at 7. So Bry will be getting it at 6, and I'll need within 60 minutes basically for him to rejig the poster and get the logos in. And that happens probably more times than I'd like to admit because we are very much. I mean, I mean, plenty of times there's many that I'll start writing the press release 20 minutes before I hit submit to the internet. You know what I mean? So
So,
I've tried it the other way. I don't really enjoy it. I don't. I see when I've got something sitting there all packaged up and it's like a week in advance. There's just something about it, it gets stale in my head, and maybe that's not even important,
it's
but
because
it
you're
gets
a
stale.
daily newspaper journalist. You got
Aye,
to
I
get it
maybe
out, got to get the story out.
Aye, you 15 minutes to write about that car crash. It just happened to get it done. So it was, aye, I can see why. I mean, if you get a week with a poster, Rob, a week with a poster, and we just fucking new times Roman. I mean, what's he complaining about?
Awesome. Lovely. Couple of other things I want to talk about. I've been thinking for a while that we should, when we did our album of the year show, which I know you loved, Gav, you got very into, we did say we'd talk about new stuff that was out and maybe we'd keep a more I think you were kind of saying, I'm going to be more organized this year so that when I
Yeah,
get to the album of the year at the end of the year, and bearing in mind you're nearly a third of the way through the year already.
yeah.
Um, how's your album of the year list looking? So I
I
just
mean,
thought I'd
shocking. I mean, right now, as you're putting me in a spot here, I can't think of any albums that have been released so far this year.
well, I'm going to tell you a few now. And actually, in your defense, it's been an extremely slow start to the year for rock and metal, I would say. Um, I mean, there's a few albums I would mention, I mean, obviously not wanting to bore people, there's a shout out to the Manics and the Wild Arts. Neither of those albums are
James,
classics, but
James, is that you doing a great job of moving on from the Manics to Wild Hearts that you promised in the last episode that you get your first mention of a band this year and you shout out to Manics and the Wild Hearts? I know you had a friend that came on, an actual one of your life friends, and he was like, mate, you're killing it every bit of fucking credit you had. Stop talking about the Wild Hearts.
so okay. Um, New Code and Cambria is really good. And the new LS Dunes album, you ever heard of that band? It's members of it's got one member from My Chemical Romance, one member from Thursday, and a member from Coheed and someone else. They are like it's like a sort of post-hardcore Glassjaw at the drive-in thing. They're really, really good. The album is really good. So it's weird mentioning those four bands. Then I'm like, fuck, have I stopped listening to horrible music? I'm listening to choruses. These are all
Yeah.
like big choruses. The new Code album, fucking massive choruses. And then the Ren album dropped. And it's fucking really, really good, Ren is. And that's WREN. Um, have they played at Damnation before?
Yes, yes, they did actually. Something on the poster just there, but they opened the third stage on 2017.
Lovely. They've also played Arctangent. They're great. I mean, there's one obvious band to mention when you talk about Ren, and that is Neurosis. They do sound like Neurosis, but I often find that post-metal bands, I'm always comparing to Cult of Luna. So it's quite weirdly quite refreshing to actually compare someone to Neurosis. And Neurosis don't exist anymore, so fucking great. Let's have the new Neurosis. So that Ren album is really good. Maud the Moth, I would also give a mention to, is very Mordemoth must have played at Roadburn because it's very Roadburn. It's like solo female um, piano, weird as fuck. That's good. People should check that out. Have you listened to the new Mogwai, Gav?
I did, I did. I mean, it was okay. It sort of passed me by a bit, but then I suppose that would always be my consistent take on Mogwai as a band. I mean, despite being one of the very best at it, their album outputs are very much like two or three absolute crackers, and then the rest it's quite passive. For me, quite passive in between.
Okay, yeah. I thought it was quite good. I I don't get that excited about Mogwai ever, so I'm not really the guy you come to for a Mogwai review. Um, Also, there's a band called Wyatt E who played at Arctangent last year. Very spacey, psychedelic thing. That's good, that album is. And now I've got some Damnation recommendations for you from new albums. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me if these bands are on your radar or they've probably all played in the past. UK death metal band Vacuous.
Okay,
Re-
then.
Really
No.
good. Got a lot of love on That's Not Metal recently. I don't think they're big, so they're worth checking out. There's a band called Grab or Grab, maybe, a black metal band, and the great old ones, which is kind of like post metal crossed with black metal. So I'm gonna send those to you later because I've been listening to all three of those records and they're all good, and they're too heavy for anything I book probably.
Okay.
So I will
And
check
what
them
about
out.
did you get listen to any more Horringbora? I wish I had that still in front of me, that fucking where's last week's plan?
No, I should go back to that.
Horringbarna.
I'm really bad when I've missed an album because it was a 2024 album, I think. So I'm like 2024 is dead to me.
So, because the reason I say that is not because I'm becoming a PR, but I did listen again. I thought actually it's really good. And then it's unusual when you get someone who recommends stuff, like just like someone else who's like a super sub, somebody to have then our listenership go and check out as many who did it and then come back themselves and say, this is so good, I'm jumping on the hype train with it. So there was a few posts about just how much people were enjoying that record and but being probably new to everyone but those living in Norway. So I was quite chuffed to see that. And now because I'm looking at it, I see that when we got the Pelagic when we get the Pelagic subscription through, again, thank you everyone who supports the subscriptions for that. You Infinite, where I take it that album must have been released this year and I did
Yes.
enjoy that. Again, very, very passive for post rock. I mean, elevator music post rock, but done very well with the guys. And This Will Destroy You, I believe. So,
Yeah.
aye,
Good, good. The last one I just wanted to mention is Andy from 100 Reasons is in a new band called Hectares, and I've been listening to that EP, and it is really good, really good. If you're into sort of 2000 trees and you like songs, if you like hits, this is your fucking, this is your go-to. The band's called Hectares. So look, I think it has been a slow start. If all of those albums had been released last year, I don't think any of them would have made my top 10 of the year. So we'll see. There is some fucking crackers shit. Do you want to know what's coming, Gav? I can tell you
Death Heaven.
because because I know you love a list, Gav.
I
I'm
do.
just opening my iPhone up and going to my list of albums that are coming out. But it
Now,
is
how do you have that? How do you have a proactive list? I mean, come on, preemptive. I mean, can you not just wait
right.
till you hear it and then put it in one of your goddamn lists?
Mate, here you go. Imperial Triumphant, Armin Ra, Death Heaven, Telepathy, Amplifier, Messer, The Melvins, Super Heaven, Machine Head, Bruit, Rivers of Nihil, McCluskey, Pelican, The Callous Cowboys, Psychonaut. Fuck me. Those albums are all coming.
Aye, I mean, there's some names. I mean, the new Amin, out of all those, especially the new Amin Ra record, is going to be sublime. I cannot wait for that. That will definitely be my top
But do,
10 albums of the year.
do you know what the fucking amazing thing about that is? It's out on the 28th, so we are on tour together, so we can listen to Armin Ra for the first time
Oh,
together.
the excitement, the
Good.
excitement, and be part of this journey with you, James. And the Brute album, really looking forward to that. And if Death Heaven sounds anything like those first two tracks, which is a return to the blackened shoegaze of yesteryear, then I am well up for all those. So, aye, some good stuff in the pipeline. I do need to make more effort if there's going to be an end of the year list. In fact, I assume there definitely is because you're just not going to have it another way. I want to be better prepared than I was last time. To be fair, doesn't sound like it's been the most busy start to the first third if you're listening anything to go by.
No, it hasn't. The one I really want to know from you is what you think about Vacuous,
Vacuous.
UK death metal. Um, okay. The other thing I was going to talk about is this has been on my list for weeks to talk about, but I just never, it's so busy, we never really get around to it. So I've I've been on a bit of a music documentary binge recently, and there's some fucking absolute crackers out there that I thought I would just quickly tell people about. And I got into my binge by rewatching Fire and Woodstock, obviously two different documentaries, and they're both absolutely fucking brilliant. And it reminded me to talk about it because Fire Festival, I don't know if you've seen, is back in the news. So Fire 2 is coming to Mexico, and this week, the tourism and local officials in Mexico have denied any knowledge of the proposed follow-up to the disastrous 2017 event. That's the headline in The Guardian. So Mexico don't seem to know about it, but this guy, Billy McFarland, right? He spent 4 years in prison for the last one. For the
Yeah.
last Fire Festival, he spent 4 years in prison, right? And the absolute lunatic is organizing another one, and there's already people saying it's not real. Well, the tickets have sold out, and they range between $1,400 and $1.1 million. And on their website, there's all these like vague promises about like luxury yachts, headliners soon to be confirmed, and priceless experiences like diving with whale sharks, mixology sessions, um, and but it's all a bit like vague. And the guy
Like the
spent
first
four
one.
year 4 years in prison last time.
I bet it's like, what is that? Because you know what? Even though seeing it is sold out, I don't know. Maybe it's just that sort of because it'll be Americans, won't it? It's fucking crazy Americans have done. It didn't even surprise me that much. It doesn't surprise me that much because then you feel like because it has had the worst publicity in the world, but the most publicity that a festival's ever had in the world. I mean, it was beyond viral when that came out on Netflix. And for them to try then to be part of it, for you to get your ticket, if you're rich and then you've got daddy's credit card and it doesn't mean anything, you go and stick 5 or 10 tickets at £1,000 or £2,000 a pop and say, oh, we're going to go and be part of the Firefest experience. I can see enough crazy Americans, crazy rich Americans to go and do that. But it's who else is it? Is it really just one guy sitting in an office again? All we need to do, because the presentation of what a festival could be like is very easy. Even in the UK festivals of clubs, it's very easy to make a festival look like. It's easy to put a poster together, say when it's going to happen, talk a lot about the experiences you're going to have there, stick some bands on it if you want. But beyond that, when you actually need the staffing into the infrastructure, the lights and sound people, the production people. Does he have any of them? I mean, is there an attempt at it? Or is it really just you know what, 4 years in prison for, I don't know, 68 million that I made by ripping everybody off? Is that worth going and doing it again? It's like, I don't, you'd love to sit down with the guy and say, right, okay, what is actually happening? Give us some specifics that show that this, rather than a country saying they don't even know you're coming.
Yeah. I mean, I'd just be terrified about ending up in prison again. Fucking, I don't, yeah. It'd be
Somebody's absolute
fascinating.
head cases, though. See these people, I mean, I'm sure there's a psychology term for them of just like the attention and the need for the power and the money, and that's just a complete oversight. You don't even consider prison. Is that you're that fucking mental? You don't even consider prison as another reality to you. They've just been for 4 years.
Yeah. Well, he's gone again, so fair play. Um,
He has gone
but
again.
so there's a bunch of other really good documentaries out there at the moment. So I just watched the Blood Incantation one, which is like it's on YouTube, and this is not going to be up your street, Gav, but for anyone who's really into that album, it's basically a making of that album, and it made me realize is that they're the biggest geeks in the entire universe, this band. And the amount of effort they put into every little bit of that album is mad. Like the concepts and every single note of solo and bits of atmospheric noise, and it's really cool documentary. Go and watch it.
Did they touch
Um,
on Time Wave Zero as well? Did you enjoy Time Wave Zero?
yeah, well, we just did. So look, I wasn't I my introduction to Blood Incantation was pretty much the new album. I'm not historically a fan. I've never really listened to them. In my book club, we just did the whole four album discography thing of them. And yeah, Time Wave Zero is like the ambient album, isn't it?
Aye,
I did like it. It's not like listening to music in the way I normally listen to music because
aye,
I don't know, it's like listening to a film score or something. I almost can't review it. Is it good? Yes. If I'm going to put on, I mean, the other two albums are fucking brilliant. So out of the four albums we've got, there's like one, they're all different, but broadly speaking, three of them are heavy and progressive, and one of them is sort of
yeah.
ambient film score type
I
thing.
mean, you can imagine if you weren't such a like you're a pretty open-minded music fan anyway, and you like your metal, your death metal to be kind of experimental and all over the place. But if you're just like if you're coming from an autopsy and obituary standpoint, and you just like that death metal, albeit Blood Incantation being a wee bit more experimental, and then suddenly you get landed with Time Wave Zero after you've waited for however many years for the next album. There was a lot of people who weren't that impressed, to be fair. And I think it really set the table for this album that came out and just blew everyone away because it reminded them how good Blood Incantation really are.
And they're not a band that's going to be like, oh yeah, okay, this is what we should do now. There's no
No,
fucking way. They're going to be like the Mars Volta and do the opposite of what you think they're going to want to do,
yeah,
what you want them to do. So that they will, I think they'll be an interesting band. They're going to go off in some different directions and fucking what a band. Anyway, don't watch that if you're not into the album. But if you're really into the album, it's fucking brilliant. Also, well, there's a bunch of others, but there's a Marilyn Manson documentary on Channel 4 at the moment, which I don't want to talk about too deeply because it is dark as fuck. But you haven't seen that, have you?
no. And
Um,
is this all? I think this is all recently for all the post allegations of him being a scumbag.
yeah, it's a very strange documentary because it's some part of it is like historical. This is what Marilyn Manson did, and this is where he came from. But actually, the main crux of the documentary is talking to the women who, alleged that he abused them. So it's quite dark. There's a lot of dark content in it, and you know, it's it was definitely a very interesting watch. I think it's three or four parts, but it's a weird mix. They don't quite get the mix right of like, are we exposing this guy or are we telling everyone what a great performer he was? It's a bit of a weird fucking thing. I mean, personally, he's one of those artists that I will not listen, I was a massive fan of and will not listen to anymore. Not because of this documentary from before that, but yeah, pretty dark. But I think if you're still listening to Marilyn Manson, you should probably go and watch this documentary and see if that changes your mind. Um, and then one of the greatest fucking things ever on TV is the Beatles documentary on Disney. So what happened with this is when they were doing when they were making Abbey Road, they hired a film crew to do a fly on the wall documentary. So um, have I got the name of the album wrong there? I hate myself. I
And
get
what's wrong with Abbey Road? Is that not the one that they've done it for?
Nah, I don't know. Is Get Back on Abbey Road? I've really got myself confused now. Anyway, the documentary is called Get Back, which is obviously one of the most famous songs. I'm not actually a massive Beatles fan, as I've proved by making an absolute hash of the album name. But when they were making this album, they went into a studio to write an album in 2 weeks, basically, and they took a film crew with them. And Peter Jackson of Lord of the Rings fame got given this, the footage was never released, and he got given this footage. And what he's made is three-hour episodes without a real narrative. There's not really a narrative. You are just sitting there as a fly on the wall watching the Beatles play. And it's fucking brilliant. Now, if you've ever been in a band, it's particularly interesting because you see how Paul McCartney and John Lennon and the other two write songs. And it's
Yeah,
like, it's really interesting. Like one day Paul McCartney comes in and he's going, he's like he's got this riff which ends up being the song Get Back, and you can hear him just going na, 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 and he's like not even saying words yet. And then literally 3 minutes later, he plays what is the first ever time anyone's ever heard the song Get Back. And within the space of 3 minutes, you just see the song evolve, and it's like, fuck, there's your banger. That's how easy it is. Or
yeah.
one day they all come in and is it the song? I think it's Let It Be or Yesterday, one of the classic ballads. And he's on the piano. And like one of like George Harrison sits down or whatever, and Paul's just like, here's a new song I've written. And again, it's like this is the first time anyone's ever heard a song which is one of the most famous songs ever. So it's fucking cool. It's really slow. You know, people watch those canal barges. You know, you literally on your TV just watch a canal barge going down. It's like slow
Yeah,
TV.
yeah.
This is like that. You can't sit on the edge of your seat waiting for something to happen. You kind of just sit back on the couch. The episode's 3 hours long, and you just zone out. And then every so often, they're like they'll be playing like at the bottom of the screen. It tells you what song they're playing each time. So they'll play loads of covers. So Paul will just start playing an Elvis Presley song. They all join in. And what is really evident from it is although they are geniuses, they are so fucking normal.
Yeah.
They're so normal. Even John Lennon is normal. The only person that's not that seems odd in the whole thing is Yoko Ono, who just kind of sits in the background, not saying anything for most of the time. But the Beatles themselves are really weirdly normal. Like
Aye.
Paul McCartney's the leader. He's the cool one, definitely. But they're all just fucking normal. But they're so brilliant. Anyway, look, I'm not a Beatles fan, and I was blown away. I've watched it twice now. Um,
It's
so
weird because
yeah,
it reminds me the what was the Metallica one?
some kind of
The
monster.
some kind of monster. And I've never watched that all, but it was on and a clip from it. I must have seen it at some point. And I remember, so at whatever age I'd have been, but it was maybe 20 years that's been out. Has that been out as long as that?
Well, you
I
had a
know.
big St. Anger face, didn't you? Which is around the same time.
There you go, I've been in my St. Anger phase, my frantic. So I caught a bit of it and I was exposed, I suppose, at the start of when I was getting into this music myself and then also trying to get into like, oh man, what would that industry be like? Just how I wouldn't even say normal because the bit that I saw was the bassist Rob being offered a role in the band, and
Yeah,
then Lars saying about being £1 million. But you could see how much it meant to Lars for him to react like he had changed his life, and
yeah,
it was quite petting. And there was another bit about rather than having an adult conversation, it was James and Lars, but they were doing it like school children. So they're interacting about something they're not happy about with the band, but rather than just having it out the way that you and I might, or me and my wife, or me with colleagues when I was in at the newspaper, it was very childish. It was like I was like my children on the estate. Like They need management and lawyers and people to come in and help them through this process of an adult conversation. And it was like it stripped back not only a layer of, oh my God, how iconic these people are on stages, like, but just all the what would make it I remember I remember at the time not even being a huge Metallica fan, but being in the prison, if they knew that this was coming out, why would they possibly allow it? Like, if this release is Metallica backed and it's actually supposed to show you a wee bit about who Metallica is, people, why on earth would you? Why on earth would you do it? It was like you and I pressing record now and then getting into a childish spat about why you shouldn't listen to the Wild Hearts and why you think I'm a shit promoter, and maybe doing it not even with that authority. To having our wives come in and telling us why we're shitting the jobs. And like, we would never send that out to the public. We would never say, oh, there's a great episode, let's go and stick it to YouTube. And just when you were mentioning that whole Beatles thing there, I just remember going back to it and going, my God, these guys are like kids that just happen to play great music people have latched on to. There is nothing incredible about these people at all other than the fact that they wrote Sad But True. You know what I mean? Or Ride the Lightning
Yep.
or whatever fucking one you're talking about. Do you have any insight to that? Did you watch that? Do you know anything about it?
Well, I love that. I love that documentary. I mean, and it does demystify the myth of them being gods a little bit because it's different to the Beatles thing because the Beatles just made them like normal, but the Metallica thing, mate, you're right. It just makes them be a bit like school children a little bit. They had this dude, I can't remember what his name was. He was like the shrink in a fucking old man jumper, sat there like mediating between them, and it was a bit weird, but it's an absolute classic music documentary. I think everyone should watch it. You don't need to be a Metallica fan. I really love it. But the worst bit was when because it's all they've always written songs that's like mostly just like Lars and Hetfield are the masterminds, but and Hetfield's always done the lyrics, I think, and for some reason they decided to let sort of Kirk Hammett sit around like writing lyrics, and they were all like Hetfield's standing on the microphone, and they're all just shouting fucking shit phrases at him, and these ended up in songs. Like Kurt's like, "What about my lifestyle determines my death style?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, that's a fucking great lyric. Let's get that in a song." It's like, mate, it's not a great lyric. So they kind of they they did some funky things, and when the album came out, I think you can see that some of the decision making was bad.
I suppose as well, in fairness to Metallica, I mean, at what age did James and Lars have the entire world at their feet and every demand catered to the second that they wanted to, like, their reality stopped at what age? That 17,
Yeah,
18,
yeah,
19,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
hadn't even developed into adults yet. And they're already, whatever they want gets done the second they want it. It you need to be a pretty strong-willed minded human to not let that just completely warp your sense of reality to the point of where they got in that documentary that they needed an old guy in a jumper to have a conversation with a friend. You know what I mean? So that's a that's one of those ones when you see these like somebody like Billie Eilish who comes across very grounded and seems to kind of still have her wits about her despite the fact of being a fucking pop princess for since the age of 16.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, everyone should definitely watch that. There's a couple on my list. I'd love people to recommend stuff, but there's like the Boyzone documentary. I was never into Boyzone, but apparently it's really good. That's on at the moment, and I think there's a boy bands one as well, which apparently is good. Um, but yeah, I'm going to end. I think my street cred might be too high currently, so I'm going to end by telling you that I also watched the Bon Jovi documentary on Disney, which I very much enjoyed. But yeah, if anyone's got
Mate,
any,
you're Teflon. I mean, you're on the record recommendations recently. If they're still listening to your recommendation, you're Teflon, mate. You're good. Bon Jovi's fine. Boyzone, Bon Jovi, and boy bands. That's James's take for high music documentary. So good. Aye, maybe we'll catch a. Maybe we'll watch a couple of them, especially if we're going to be sitting with time to kill during the day, because we're not going to be sitting getting drunk before the show. So I suppose I'm going to have that first. You hear that at every band in tour tells you like. It's not a glamour that you expect. Now I know that because I see it from the other side as a promoter, but to actually experience it myself, when I'm watching a band just aimlessly killing time at damnation until they get to the stage, I understand that that's what they're doing for 30 dates across Europe, but I'm not doing it with them. I'm busy at that time. Whereas when we're in tour, we'll be, I suppose, aimlessly killing time during the day.
Mate, we're going to be aimlessly driving up to Old Trafford, getting a photo of the three of us in front of like the big statue of Charlton, Beston Law, McAnally, Begley, and Scarlett in front of those three. Would be great. But I've already told you we're going to go to Black Sabbath Bridge as well.
I fancy that. I fancy that. Actually, like that would be great. I mean, Old Trafford's a bit like. I mean, if you want to see a stadium, we can go to Paradise. But it's
Mate,
aye.
I'll be well up for a fucking look around. Um, but I guess it depends how much time we've got. If anyone's got any recommendations for music or football related tourism, then hit us up in the cities we're going to be playing.
Send us there. Yes, we will need to be doing non-drink related activities during the day, which is not mine and James's speciality, to be honest. We are very good at cracking the can, like the rest of you, at 10:30 in the morning at the festival field and enjoying the music, but
Thing is,
maybe not so much the tourist plan.
mate, I am a daytime drinker. I don't like. I'm not actually a late night drinker. I don't like the giving it the 2 a.m. beans as much as I like giving it the 2 p.m. beans. That's
Aye,
my. There's nothing
aye.
like a pint in the day, a couple of pints in the
Afternoon
day.
drinking is the afternoon drink is the most fun. Was it Mickey
Yeah,
Flanagan or something that done that? The skitting in, like he likes that whole kind of having the drinks and then just going home and having your a nap and then your dinner, and that's you done for the day. Don't worry
yeah,
about that whole okay trying to go out at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night at our age. Just go and get into the local and enjoy a couple at 2 p.m. That's the time to drink.
yeah.
So aye. So was that your week?
It was. Have you got anything to share with
Aye,
us?
but I went to I mean the same as you. I mean a lot of it's been sort of about the tour and getting shit done that we can get into a wee bit later. But I went to see Nordic Giant and This Will Destroy You at a Glasgow venue called Room 2. Now, both bands were exceptional. I don't know if the guys who own Room 2 donate the money to three-legged dogs. I mean, I don't want to, I don't like, I don't go and fucking rip into them in their business thing, but it's hard to imagine being in a less suitable venue for live music, never mind post rock. The whole night was sort of the overarching thing is like this fucking venue's just terrible. I mean, for what it was, it's like if you imagine when you went into the Riley Smith Hall at Leeds and you get that one entrance, and when you go in, it's like a rectangle on the stage here. It was like that, but instead of you going in and then the stage being in front of you, you went into the rectangle box, but the furthest away bit would be the bar, and in between it is a stage, but you need to navigate, get down steps to get to the stage area, and then get two pillars that stop you from seeing the stage anywhere but in front of it, which is fucking terrible for an Nordic Giant show. So everyone's trying to kind of crush into that bit at the front. Merch desk and sound desk sort of crammed in at the back, and then bar. But the bar where the guy's serving you, you're asking for a Jack Daniels and Coke. You're fucking about 4 feet away from the guy playing guitar on stage. You're Cam Hack style side stage. By the time you go to order a drink, you're almost on the fucking back of the stage. So even when you're trying to be quiet or people being ordering a bad drink, it's still fine. So then you get the shush brigade because you're at a post rock show, and then you've got the. I mean, I don't know if it was sold out, but Jesus, they could have fit an extra person in that venue. I mean, like, I tried to go to the toilet between bands, nothing's happening. And post rock fans, I mean, I love that fucking music, but they're the worst. When they get they want a space, then they want to put a fucking deck chair in it, and then they want their Kindle stand sorted, and then they want a wee table for their pipe and their scarf. And, you try to go to the toilet and they're not moving it your way. You're like, what do you want me to do? Piss in your leg? It's like, I'm only trying to get to the toilet. I'm not trying to steal your space. And aye, it made for a weird experience and for two great bands. I just went to the furthest point I could go away from the stage, which was the bar, and just leaned against the bar and listened to This Will Destroy You
Just
from there.
happened to be just out of luck. It would just happen to be the bar that you got to, was it?
Out of pure luck, I went to the bar. So, aye, it was. I mean, maybe for a grindcore show, a death metal show, smaller, you'd get in there and people are just used to that in the basement. Going for it, maybe it'd be great, maybe a brilliant atmosphere. And as I say, I don't know, maybe there's really good people who own that venue, so I feel a wee bit uncomfortable coming on here and shitting in it. But for a post rock show, it was fucking tough work. It was tough work. I mean, and the amount of people who could not see what was going on with Nordic Giants on stage, like that's 90% of the show is the visuals of Nordic Giants. This will destroy. I couldn't see This Will Destroy You on stage. I was behind a pillar at that point, but that doesn't matter. You don't. This Will Destroy You are your typical boring as fuck guys in flannel shirts sitting down playing a, you don't need to hear it, so you don't need to see it, so it makes no difference. But for Nordic Giants, I thought it was a bit of a tough one, but still, two great sets. Guys from Nordic Giants spotted me in the venue, like, come up to the merch, come up to the merch. If you get £100 gift token to spend at the merch still, I'm like, fucking hell, that's
Yes.
incredible. I mean, I took a £20 t-shirt, and I was appreciated for that. But that was nice of them to be like, mate, I would have that in mind, and I take it through the podcast. They're a bit like, mate, let's look after the big man. So
Mate, you're
it was
their
great.
UK PR, you are, aren't you?
Aye, good. So they should be. Now it's like it was good to see a nice because this will destroy you do pull numbers, and then it's get an opportunity for hopefully Nordic Giants to be exposed further to post because that's fucking it's how could you be a this will destroy you fan and no enjoy Nordic Giants? So aye, apparently the tour's going great. Had the most random fucking thing happen. We went to so usually Glasgow for me when I go in is the place where oddly no one will say hi, you Gav, or you do the podcast. I mean, if I go to Manchester or any of the festivals, you get stopped quite often, and people having a chat with you, which is great. I welcome it. But in Glasgow, we're just not like that for whatever reason. We're like, I mean, I share that opinion as well. Like, who does that cunt think he is? You know what I mean, it's like we have that mentality when it's one of us. Like, who does he think he is? Think he's something special. So I can kind of understand it, but that night there was definitely. There was a lot of folk that came up. They said they were coming to the show the following week, and then a few of them came out with us for drinks afterwards with pals I had there. So we're sitting for a while and we're chatting about damnation and the podcast and the show. But these women that were there also came up and like picked up our jackets and hoodies and like the merch. And kind of put it to their side of the table. So it's kind of nice we got jackets back. And then it was a few, like drink for a couple of hours. And I'm like, my Nordic Giants hoodie and the t-shirt that I've just got is no here any longer. So I went up and this woman's sitting and I'm like, could I could I just check you're no sitting on my hoodie and my shirt? I'm not. I'm like, right, okay. So then I went about there again to my mate's like, she definitely is. She absolutely is sitting in that. And like, there's more than one item under there, under her bum. And I'm like, fuck's sake. What? I need to go back up to this woman again and say, could you check? I mean, so I'm fucking at 1 o'clock in the morning, whenever it is, I'm back. I'm like, excuse me, I don't mean to be a dick about this, but just in case somebody else put something there and you don't think you're sitting in it, as soon as she stood up, you could see the print design. It was Man Nordic Giants fucking. I'm like, oh, that's mine. I'm expecting her to go, oh, sorry, pal. English went, there you go then. Is that what do you mean,
Fuck.
there you go? You try to steal my Nordic Giants t-shirt? For fuck's sake. So I just left there like, that was the weirdest. And it would never have fit her. I mean, I'm not trying to say, but it was like, it was never a fit her anyway. She would never have heard of that band. So I don't know what value it would have been to her to have my hoodie and my t-shirt, but she was visibly raging that I'd made her stand up and give me back my clothes that they'd taken and sat on. So it was a good but strange night out in Glasgow. But there seems to be a lot of good people coming at next Friday, and people I wasn't expecting to be there either. So I think that Glasgow's definitely going to be my Bristol moment when you go there and it's like all the faces you know, and they're like, this one's maybe a wee bit more nerve wracking than the rest.
I'm really looking forward to Glasgow. It's one of the places on tour that I've really not been to. So yeah,
I
looking
did
for
say
the.
to someone, it was like, oh, you'll be up next week. I said, can you believe James has never been to Glasgow? Never been to, I mean, drop someone off in Glasgow is his only experience. So I want to come up with some plan for a fair city. And the other thing is like, I'm almost certain, I know my sinuses are never great anyway, but I feel like I've got a cold coming on for the perfect. I'll end up with a big spot in my head here in the cold by the time I show up in fucking Bristol. Perfect timing for the tour.
You'll be fine, mate. We got some cures for that. It'll be okay.
We'll get through it. We'll get through it. So, aye, that's where we are up to. And the other thing that happened is you know the band Strangers with Guns, who the guy he's been a sort of podcast listener since day one. So he's been trying to send us vinyl for ever. And he's just the Irish post system just keeps sending it. I mean, not to be stereotypical, but the Irish post system keeps sending it back to themselves. So he's like fucking. I can't get this vinyl to you. Like it's been in an odyssey, like for a month now that this it's just going through the Irish post system and keeps coming back to the post office in Ireland. So finally arrived. I have your Strangers with Guns test pressing. So should they ever become a massive band, which you could likely help with, then you could sell it on in a few years for a few grand once you get the guy to sign it. And I also received a vinyl from the band Worn Out, who is another listener of the podcast flying in from Manchester. So I just wanted to say a thanks to those guys for that.
Cracking. Well, I'm going to thank you, Gav, because I opened a box of towels yesterday to find two Grave Pleasures and an Ocean vinyl in it for me. Thanks,
So
man.
I forgot what the third one was. I remember that I packed the Grave Pleasures one for you, but I couldn't remember what the third one. It was the Ocean one, and that's a cracker. That one.
Yeah, thank you. That was very, very kind of you. Much appreciated. I'm
It's all
big
one
fan
big.
of all of those albums. So lovely.
It's all one big fucking loving. It's all one big loving. Talking of lovins, our good man Lou's Brews. So he has shipped his cargo to. I take it to you. Do you have all these sauces?
No,
Brilliant. Okay, so that's not happened yet.
if you're fucking listening to this on Thursday and finding that out, it's too late, Lee. So I hope they're
He's
here
like,
now.
what do you mean you don't fucking have them yet? So I assume by the time between having this conversation to Thursday morning, they'll all be there. We're getting his full display basically. It will be there at all the shows until they are sold out. So please, if you can come along, support us, buy the merch, and also if you can pick up a hot sauce. He's got all these new ones on there that we've been banging on about, as well as the two promoters, one sauce.
Mate, we're introducing my son Kit to the idea that I'm going away. Daddy's going on tour. So I said to him, no, he came up to me this morning and he said to me, I don't really understand what a tour is. So I was like, okay, I'll explain it to you. Do you know what the podcast is? And he says, yes, the podcast is where you talk about the sauces you make. So he somehow has got himself fucking convinced that me and you are just on here talking about fucking sauces.
Well, two hot sauce salesmen. You can also pick up a hoodie or a t-shirt.
So
Oh,
yeah,
that's class.
I had to explain to him that we talk about some things that aren't just sauces. But yeah,
Okay, okay. Well, that will all be there each night. If you're not coming to the tour, then Pod 15 on oldloosebruce.co.uk. He has a bunch of new sauces there. And James, at some point we will get this hot sauce episode done as well because he's now chasing it saying, well, you cowards, I sent you a package full of hot sauces that we never got to. So that'll happen as well.
great. I can't wait. As you know, I've always been super enthusiastic about that, the idea of taking
let's
hot sauces
let
in front of a
let's
camera.
do this crying. And last week we picked out Darren of Meliora for the super sub. I assume he thinks he's too good for such lowly prizes and gifts. You know, being a pod sponsor. So I never heard back from him for whatever reason. So Darren, you're still owed something. Give us a shout. This week is Don Scott. Don Scott, let us know what you would like. Everyone else, as usual, go and support us on Patreon, or if you're currently with Kofi, stick with us.
Lovely. So we're gonna have it. We've talked about the tour a bunch already today. There's a couple of extra bits that we were just going to chuck in. Um, to just make sure people know what's going on about with the off the record board and really just the sort of timings of the shows. And I was going to add in a little technical bit about PRS because I think it's funny what's been going on. So yeah, do you want to talk? Do you want to talk to us about the off the record board and what's on it and what how it's going to work? Do people know
So,
how it's going to work?
yeah, well, basically what's going to happen is we'll come out and the plan is for each city we'll come out and have some discussion about said city or if a question has been answered. So in Glasgow, we can almost certainly we'll be talking about Lord of the Lands and heavy Scotland. In Bristol, I'm sure at some point we'll be talking about temples. In Manchester, we'll probably talk about what the plans are for the Night of Salvation. So something relevant to that city. I mean, we can, if someone's in the crowd and is very eager to hear our opinions on, I know, heavy Scotland when we're in Gloucester, we can do that as too. But that's the opening gambit. Then there's going to be an off the record section, which is exactly what it says in the tin. It's the kind of stories that we don't necessarily want committed to YouTube. Not because we're going to uncloak ourselves as mad Nazis, but people can very easily edit up and chop what they want you to, what suits their narrative when it's on YouTube. Where we're expecting the people that are buying tickets to the show are not quite so keen to cancel our careers. So we just have an open, honest conversation about things like cancel culture and our feelings on. I mean, what else have we got up there? We've got the worst day. What a story I've not heard yet. The worst day that you've ever had at a festival. So
Yeah.
hopefully some of this. Our opinions on Bloodstock. Our opinions on like you've had thefts again at festivals that have had major impacts on the running of the festivals. Again, I haven't heard those stories. So it's about that. I believe there's 9 subjects or 9 sort
Yeah.
of talking points, and the final one being retail pod story. And what I mean by that when I came up with that, there's not just us reliving the same story we told you in episode 4. It's like we maybe skimmed over a topic you were about. Like I'd always wanted to hear more about what actually went on there, not just the skimming and having a laugh about the topic. So anything that you want us to get back into, we can also do that. We have no idea whether we tell one of those stories and it goes on for 30 minutes, or we tell one that goes on for 5 minutes and we get through 5 or 6. That'll be completely organic on the night of how the reaction is for the people that have asked for it, and that'll be led by the people in the audience. Well, basically, I'm saying, you there with a pink scarf, what would you want to hear about? And we'll go for there. No, no, it won't be pre-planned, which keeps it fresh and interesting for us as on the stage as well.
Yeah. 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 So every night will be different, and yeah, we don't know what we're going to talk about on any given night. It's going to be
And then what
interesting.
we'll have is a drinks break. I had it 15 minutes. You guys have made it half an hour, so I suppose we'll quickly see how long people want, and then adjudge that per night. And then afterwards, it's going to be open floor Q&A. Ask us whatever you want, and we can always go back to the board with that as well. So if there is something that you particularly want to know about, but it's something that's already on the board, then great. And the whole time we're doing that, if you've picked up a bingo card, you will have the opportunity to play along with the bingo, where things will be on there like Julie Christmas and the Curse of Johannes and We Go Again and So I and Amazing. So, I mean, I suppose the game for us is really to try and get through one of those routes, and it would be so fucking predictable that we say everything that's on it instantly. But and there you go, they're there for a reason,
I
I
would
suppose.
I would like to think I'll be relaxed enough to be thinking about what's on the bingo card. Um, we'll see. But yeah, so as an example, so the timings are different every night, aren't they? But and I think we'll probably post them on our socials on the day so people can check to make sure they definitely know. But broadly speaking, like Bristol's like doors at 7, start at 7:45, drinks break from 8:30 to 9, second half 9 to 9:45, and then up till 11 will just be us hanging out and having a drink, and anyone who wants to come and say hello um, can do. And yeah, should be nice. It'll be nice. It's an early finish if you want it to be an early finish, and if you want to hang around and have a drink with us, that would also be great. My wife
Yeah.
said to me that she's had enough of hanging around with me with people wanting to talk to me at the festival. So as soon as it finishes, she's out of there. Good,
Okay.
good to know. Good to
Okay.
know.
Thank you. Thank you
Thanks for
for
your
the
support.
support.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, this is Gavin Chum.
Yeah.
Gone. So, aye, it's going to be good. And I think 'cause I looked at one of the times it's like Leeds in the final of the 7 days of following weekend. I think the whole thing's done by 10, which is probably very welcome for folk on a Sunday night as well. So yeah, they're early nights, early starts, and relatively early finishes. But we'll be there until the kick is out. So if you want to be there until the kick's out with us, then we're all for that too. So aye, that's the kind of setup of the shows.
Yeah, 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 it's going to be good. So just let's talk about PRS, right? So
Did you just say let's talk about PRS? The words you never hear any promoter say publicly. Let's talk about
no,
PRS.
that is true, and I've had some issues with PRS over the years. I mean, my brother said to me the other day, "You keep mentioning PRS, and half the people probably don't know what it is." So just a little lesson here for people. So PRS stands for Performing Rights Society. Basically, what it does is it collects and distributes royalties to songwriters and composers. So basically, if you wrote a song, Paul McCartney wrote Let It Be, or actually that would have been credited to Lennon and McCartney, then every time somebody performs Let It Be, there are some royalties paid to PRS for the performance live of that song. So if at 2000 Trees somebody plays on the main stage and they do a cover of Let It Be, McCartney and Lennon still get paid for that. So that's one of the things PRS does. If your music is used on the radio or in film, you also get royalty payments for that. But the key distinction is it's not the band that gets paid, it's the songwriter or the composer of the piece of music. So, Ringo Starr does not get paid for Let It Be because he's not credited as one of the songwriters. So that money that those people get paid has to be generated, and the people that pay for that is, well, if you're an outdoor festival like I am, we pay 2% of our box office turnover. So the amount of ticket sales we make, we pay 2%, 2.7% of that um, to PRS. PRS then somehow has some fucking way of distributing that. They say fairly. I would argue whether or not it's fair, but because how do they know that fucking Let It Be was played on the main stage? The process isn't brilliant for that, I don't think. But anyway, outdoor festivals pay 2.7%, music venues pay 4.2%. So when Miles and I put a gig on at the O2 Academy in Bristol, the music venue will have to pay 4.2% of the ticket sales to PRS. We get charged that as the promoter. We put it in the show settlement, and lo and behold, 80-20 split. The promoter pays 20% of it, the artist pays 80% of the PRS. Quite a weird concept that, if you think about it. The artist is paying 80, like the drummer in uh, the non-songwriting drummer in a band partly paying the PRS, which then ends up in the fucking pockets of his singer. Because it's not just for covers. If Metallica play their own songs, the mad thing is they get paid an extra payment from PRS. So it's not about cover songs. It's just about, doesn't matter who plays it.
Yeah.
Was the song played on stage? Am I doing a shit job of explaining this?
Oh, so far so good.
Um, so thanks, Gav. That you had to say that. So just going back to it, music venues for gigs pay 4.2%. And all the promoters on this tour, including me and Gav, are like music promoters, right? But guess what? The podcast isn't music. So someone who is a genius, Tom Begley, realized this and he's like, wait a minute, everyone's got in there, we get like a pre-show settlement which shows you what the 80-20 split will be and how much money we'll make. And Tom's like, why has everyone got 4.2% in for PRS? Because there's no music in this show, is there?
Yeah.
So
So the same
no,
as like if you go up spoken word, they're a political. If you go up on stage and the twos are reading fucking The Guardian that day to each other, or you got me to do a comedy show, you got like there is no music getting played. I feel like we're working with a lot of promoters and a lot of venues that the assumption is just it's always a live show. So the settlement pay they use a template and that's just there on it.
yeah. So it would it just appeared. And if you think about it, let's do some really quick maths on my calculator. But if there's 200 people and they're paying 20 quid a ticket, um, then there's 4 grand. So 4% of that is, you think I'll be able to do that in my head, wouldn't you? Is 160 quid. So, is that right?
I'm like, wait, do not bring maths on a live recording, mate.
Oh God, it's worse than when I got the Beatles album wrong. Okay, so to be fair, we are prepping for a tour while all this is going on. The point being that in each show, we would have had to pay 160 quid in PRS. But Tom realized that this is not relevant to us. So we've had this big back and forward with loads of the promoters who are like, no, you're paying 4.2%. It's like, no, you're not. Eventually, I just fucking Googled it because the only music in our show is the walk-on music. And it turns out that walk-on music is subject to PRS at 0.2%, not 4.2%.
And
So,
you know what's the weirdest thing I've not thought about to this very point? Like if it worked the way it was supposed to, that money would go back to whoever wrote Lyra and Bosk.
which is him. Well,
I
it's probably not, I don't know if he is. Is he? Good
don't know.
question. Is he credited as a
Let's not go down that
songwriter or not?
fucking path, right? But ultimately, that's it. So whoever, but that's the problem with the PRS is ultimately, like you get the bands play Damnation, and every the PRS is paid, and then that money, my understanding, goes back to none of the bands who play Damnation because you need to be PRS registered to get that money funneled back to you, and that costs money in itself and takes time, and a lot of these bands aren't registered with them.
Hang on. So Oh man, my mind is blown. This is not the most slick bit of podcast we've ever done. But Tom Begley, just for some people will be missing this. Our intro music is a Bosk song. Tom Begley is our tour manager and he is in Bosk. So someone in Bosk, probably him as well, is getting paid every time that song gets played. And he's negotiated himself down from 4.2% to 0.2%. Yes, Tom. Lovely. But you've saved us and the promoters 160 quid a night. So well done. Um, I I feel like we might have to revisit PRS in the future
Yeah,
because
no,
that's like,
absolutely. Now that is definitely an 80-20 split, 3 attempts required. So, but I'm
oh,
glad. But that was, I tell you as well. So with seven different promoters, an agent, tour manager, and then us as the artist slash promoters in our own rights, and everyone's got a different answer to what the hell's going on. And speaking to some of the promoters and about like you're probably right about the 0.2% with the walk-on music, but the venue now, the promoters need to argue with the venue that are saying no, that's not going to be right because we're playing. Because what also happened, PRS is just as my wife owns a salon and she pays PRS, so she can play the radio or Spotify in the salon. If you have a pub or anyone, you probably your aunt, your uncle, you know someone who pays PRS for a bowling club, a social club, or a salon, or anywhere that the radio's playing that the public are in. So in my auntie has a tattoo and body piercing, and the PRS were on her within the doors opening in 2 days. Someone shows up and goes, "Who's that playing? It sounds like the Arctic Monkeys, man." And he's like, "Why? But no live." I mean, I'm not in the other room getting a tattoo with a guitars. No, no, it doesn't matter. You're playing it, so it doesn't matter. There's only like you and the punter in that's getting the tattoo. You're playing that to the public. You are PRS fee. There's completely nothing to do with the ones that we're paying as promoters but its own license to play that recorded music. You can get away with it if you only play unsigned artists. So if you can prove that you're only playing unsigned artists in your salon or whatever, then you get away with it. But then that's no one's doing that, are they? Nobody's playing unsigned death metal death metal bands in their hair salon. So aye, it's a complicated topic with a lot of caveats and a lot of nuance. And even us at this level, we need guys that are putting us on and our agent and the companies behind them. It wasn't a straight answer. And even though we've got an answer about walk on music, it's still not been universally accepted until take it all these venues go, right, okay, our PRS license we currently have will already cover any music that's played while the audience is at the bar having a drink. So
yeah,
two promoters, one pod are not going to get charged for the fact that we're playing Chapel Roan in the bar area.
no. I'm
I
looking forward
think
to us having that argument every single night of the tour. Um, but yeah, it's good. So, well, let us know if that made no sense, and we'll no doubt talk about it again at some point. Um, okay, cool. I think that's it on the tour. Let's fucking go. If you're listening to this on Thursday, let's fucking do this. If you haven't got a
absolutely.
ticket yet, look, if you're a big podcast listener and you're anywhere near one of these shows, come along because it's part of the thing. It's like it's been talked about enough. You might better fucking see it, otherwise you're going to miss out. So yeah, I'm excited about
Aye.
it. So let's fucking do it.
Yes, me too. Me too. And it's like, aye. But it's here now. It's a wee bit nerve wracking, but it's here now. I'm looking forward to going out and getting it done and enjoying it. And I'm definitely going to tell myself enjoy it. Like don't just go out because let's just say it was the one and done with it. We done it and enjoy it. Like okay, I want to come back and say that was it. The post on the back of the wall. Oh man, all remembers that when we fucked up that night. I should have done this bit of that kind of crap. I just want to go and be like, that was an opportunity to go and do something that I wasn't expecting to be able to do at any point in my life, and I made the most of it. No, rather than moaning about I don't know the patches never get delivered or whatever nonsense. Oh, the PRS at one of the venues did end up being 4.2%. You want to take a fucking 4.2%? Have that fight with Begley. Know what I mean, because ultimately I'm not going to be chasing somebody for the 42 pence that I might get at the other end of it.
No, absolutely.
I
Fucking, I
saw,
can't wait, mate. On Friday morning when we leave Bristol, I don't know why we started in my home city because I'm not. I don't feel like I'm on tour when I'm in my home city. I'm going to be hanging out the fucking window on the motorway, fucking banging the top of the car
yeah,
as we drive to Birmingham. You're going to see a new version of me.
the only people ever excited to enter Birmingham. I'll be honest.
Wow.
there's a city that I don't think I've ever really been in. So I looking forward to
It's
experience
not
that.
it's
That was
there's
just a
nice.
joke, Brummy. That was just a
Yeah,
joke, Brummies. Okay, we're going to a comedy club. We're allowed some jokes. So,
yeah.
aye. And the talking of jokes, the listenership and my accent this far down the road is a joke. I mean, eyesore merch, eyesore, like vandalism on the wall. Oh, that's an eyesore. EYE.
What?
It's like, so it never occurred to me. It never occurred to me at any point that you would have to spell eyesore out. And what happened afterwards? I give them this big royal plug about how great they are, and you're like, well, everybody's paying Limp Biscuit t-shirts and hoodies are 70 quid a pop, and I mean, the worst print you've ever seen on a hoodie for 70 quid. And ISO merch have got all this stock on their site. You can get this is from ISO merch, Roll to Massey t-shirt that I'm wearing right now. 20 quid delivered. And I'm coming off that ad read like, yeah, still be well chuffed with that. Everyone's flooding to ISO merch. And the first message I read on the other side is, was it ISO or IZO merch? I cannot find this site. I'm like, oh, for fuck. Ah. So, ISO, we've cleared that up now. That's the place to go
Have
for
you spelt
all.
it yet?
I just did. EYE. Then SOAR, didn't it? SOAR as well. SORE. ISO
Good.
merch.com. Vinyl. T-shirts, hoods, scarves, jigsaws, beanies, patches. They do absolutely everything, and not just in our niche. They do everything from AC/DC, Metallica, Iron Maiden to your Alanis Morissette and Chapel Roan and your pop music, and then Oasis and the Killers and that in the middle. So
Star
it's
Wars.
not just for us, it's for those that'll be filling the stadiums to go and see Oasis in a few months' time as well. I even said, I mean, I don't tell my mates anything about this podcast. I don't discuss it with them at all. And my lifelong mates who are not into metal or any of the content in this, I sent them the link to ISO Merch's Oasis store, and a few of them went to get stuff for that. So it's for everything. I have it open in front of me. They're new releases right now, and I've got the new Malevolence vinyl in front of us, which I assume it's a pre-order released on the 20th of June. They've got a new Hosier album. They've got a new Enforcer album, Dark Throne. Everything they operate at a level where it's just volume. So the reason you can get an AC/DC or Black Sabbath t-shirt for 17.99 and then use Pod 10 and get a full 10% off it is because the numbers and the quantities that these companies do is just, I mean, we can wrap our heads around it. It's like nothing we would see at a Damnation, Art Tangent, or Bloodstock, and maybe even a download where the prices need to be kept quite high because the quantities are a lot smaller and the print runs are a lot smaller. So take advantage of it. They are kindly supporting us on the pod. They've offered the pod 10, so you get your cheap t-shirt even cheaper. You get 10% off your this Malevolence album in front of me, 30 quid. Get your 3 quid off your Malevolence album. We have it pre-ordered. And they even refunded James's vinyl order for last week. James tried to get him some money and they sent him it back. So,
Happy days.
aye, support them. Good people.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna be buying my boy some Star Wars stuff on there as well. I saw there's some really good Star Wars merch, which kit is all over. So yeah,
Yep.
fantastic.
So that is, you'll be hearing more about those guys. They'll just get so much to fucking offer anyway. You'll be hearing more about those guys going forward. But before all that, questions. Let's get some questions on the go. You want to read the first one?
Yeah, Paul Atkins says, this is from last week, actually, this question. We didn't get to it. The incineration lineup was released and complete this week with the addition of several smaller bands from the UK. I feel that is great business sense in terms of cost to the festival, allowing funds to be spread elsewhere, which is evident at the top end of the lineup. This is also good exposure for homegrown talent, ensuring potential to grow both the scene and the festival years down the line. What do you guys think about this way of booking?
Okay. That's my good friend Paul, who often tells me how shit I am at booking bands.
Well, you
So
must think you're shit at booking bands because I think that is this
it's,
question
it's,
blew my mind because it does
it's
kind of.
literally the damnation approach.
Have you guys considered looking at the incineration lineup and doing what a good festival should do?
It's like
That's hard,
let's
isn't it?
just pick one at random off the poster behind me. So in 2017, you've got Ren, Bodyhound, Mutation, I think that was Bonesaw, Discord, Leng Chi, PG Lost, Beyond Creation. The other was it Leached, 100-Year-Old Man, Bong, Svalbard, Crow, Gets Worse, Sinistro, Atan, Dialects, Undersmile. So aye, that's the damnation approach. I get what it means. I think it's quite a strong. I mean, it's Incineration's strongest lineup to date, with Triptychon and Blood Incantation and Decapitated at the top end of the poster. And I think again, this is a perception thing. The last bands I've released, it looks like it's a influx of the small, not small, the more local UK bands like your Coffin Mulches and so on. So it probably for a perception like, oh, they had all these big bands and then they've done well with it and then they've turned their attention to small bands. That was probably just the way that the announcements came out rather than it being any different for any other time that they've done Incineration, because that's what that's what every festival ultimately looks like, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm saying this, Paul, with a smile on my face, but I am hugely insulted by the question because I think that's exactly what I do, and that's exactly what Gav does. It's like, what the thing that makes me the happiest in the entire world is fucking booking new UK bands. It's the reason at the start of this podcast I was trying to push Vacuous at Gav because I can't book them because I don't think they're suitable for my festival. But everyone knows how excited I got about Unpeople last year and Vower and how excited Gav gets about Meryl Streep, and he's gone and fucking booked him for
Yeah.
Damnation.
And it also, you get to think, well, you come back, so I know, but Incineration have, I suppose it's again perception of what you would class as small bands, but they've got 20 of them, and on your lineup, you've got two. So, I mean, aye, that's true as well. If it was just a case of booking, we'll try to sell 6,000 tickets as well. If it was just a case of booking a band and then ultimately they were doing all 6,000 tickets, and then you're, as a promoter, as a businessman, you're not going and offering these bands 500 a grand, 1,500, 2 grand, up to 3 grand in the slot. So you know that somebody who's also be popular, if you booked them, would play for 200, £250. I mean, the name of the game is to make a salary and profit from this as well. So ultimately, we are getting further and further down the lines in the stages and still paying big money for some of the bands in the smaller slots, because 6,000 tickets is a tough ask when you need to get those fans through the door. And Paul's a perfect example because he's a guy, he's Mr. Black Metal, so his complaint is, oh, they're derivative lineups and there's not enough of his type of black metal. But when you're booking the further down the line and you're paying them 500 or a grand or 2 grand for a black metal band instead of the £200 one, it's because you're trying to get the Paul through the door to buy the ticket.
Yeah.
So, aye, it's. Aye, I read. I mean, I read the question the same as you. I just kind of feel like that's exactly what we do. But maybe even try to play devil's advocate on behalf of him, that there's less of that. You couldn't accuse that of. I mean, that Tangent and 2000 Trees would make Incineration's efforts look small, because if they're managing it for 20 bands, you're managing it for 50.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, there's tons of small UK-based bands. So, anywho,
Danny,
okay.
Danny Champion. This might have already been brought up on here, but I'd love to hear you guys talk about the fact there seems to be clashes at this year's Slam Dunk Festival. How has this been able? All the bands clash at this year's Slam Dunk Festival. How has this been able to happen? I haven't had the chance to go and look that up yet, so I'm hoping that you've got the answers for this from me, James.
Yeah, I mean, it is a bit crackers. I think there's this is not meant as a criticism of Slam Dunk, but what you've got is a one-day festival, right? Where they've got a lot of bands playing across sort of 5 or 6 stages, and everyone gets very excitable about who they've booked. But the reality is, I had a look at the Clash Finder, and A Day to Remember, Electric Callboy, Alkaline Trio, Hot Milk all overlap at least in part. So, and we all know what if a band's overlapping with another band in the headline spot, we know it's quite difficult to move between stages. I don't mean at Slam Dunk, just anywhere really.
Yeah.
You know, um, you can do it, but so it's weird. It's like the a lot of festivals do this where they sell you on these loads and loads of bands on our lineup, but actually in reality
When we were young,
you can
like in America,
yeah
when you're looking at it, you're saying,
yeah
oh, there you go, you've got 100 bands in a day, and like you're not going to be able to possibly see more than 12 sets.
no exactly. I mean, if you want to see full sets, you're struggling to get more than 8 to 10 in a day, aren't you? I do more at my own festivals because I'm trying to see everyone, but it's it's weird. I don't know. The problem is, of course, people want to see a stacked lineup and they always want more bands, but they don't want any of those bands to clash.
Yeah.
Um, I mean,
I
there's a
know.
clash coming at Arctangent this year, Gav, which is your two favorite bands on the lineup. So we're gonna have some fucking funky conversations about that. I can't tell you about it. I can't tell you about it yet. Um, I can tell you about it offline, but not fucking in front of everyone because both those bands haven't been announced yet. So
Why would you do
just
that?
gonna have to.
Why would you do that?
Well, I didn't do it. I didn't do it to piss you off. That's certain.
It sounds
But
like you're just trying to make good content for the podcast, mate.
yeah,
I don't think that this
mate,
is.
content is king. Um, so yeah, it is. Danny's right. It's funky, but I just think it's the way it was always going to be when you've got so many bands in one day, is my answer.
Yeah, and also when the promoters are putting that together, see the 1% of ticket sales to go to the fans that then dive into the Clash Finder and then complain online. That's how small it is. Ultimately, people see that poster with all the names in it and they just get excited. There's just not that, I don't know, understanding of how it will actually pan out. They just look at it and go, I'm going to get to see Green Day, Linkin Park, Metallica, and Evanescence and Acid Bath all in one day, and they don't give it another thought until they might even just show up and then look at the stage time for the first time that day and realise that four of those bands are completely overlapping, and then it's a bit like, I was sold a dummy there, and maybe that's why an event like when we were young never succeeded when it tried it again, because the people that were stung the first time weren't up for going and doing that a second time. I haven't seen the Slamdunk one myself, but maybe they'll still sell it. Or have they sold it if it is a place that's already sold it?
No, and don't. No, I'm not sure. Not sure.
Basically, what I'm getting is for a business practice, it probably still does the numbers that you need because the people that are moaning about the clashes ultimately are still going to go there anyway and just have to deal with it, which from our point of view is just not an option because when you're getting the level of complaints, it just absolutely kills you.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Okay, next question. Rob Scarlett says, why does Synthwave fit with ATG and Damnation? It shouldn't in many ways. Currently listening to Perturbator, which is basically pop music, is all you need to do these days is to wear a leather jacket and get some tattoos. I corrected all of Rob's grammar and spelling errors in that three
So
lines.
So the thing is, this is the thing with Rob. I don't think he cares about the answers to these questions. I think he just likes to be a bit of snide bastard when he's doing these stuff. Right? I've got a pal, Neil Erskine, who listens to the podcast, and he's just one of those guys. If you're having a conversation about Nelson Mandela, he'll go, "He was a terrorist." I mean, because that means he's like, it has to have the most contrary view in the room, and it's usually based on, oh, you know, in his early years, he was actually part of the ANC and done this, and there was a death happened, and aye, all right, calm down, mate. He went fucking jail, went to jail for most of his life fighting for his beliefs. I'm sure he's an all right guy, and the rest of the world's got it right. But Rob reminds me of Neil. He just always has to have that take that's just the annoying sort of scratch at the side of your eye is what Rob's got going on with this. So I don't even know whether to fucking aye, fuck it. Let's give him an answer anyway. We don't decide what culturally fits sometimes with the music. Why on earth is Joe Quayle so universally accepted by death metal fans? She's up there with a cello, you know what I mean? By herself. There is fuck all. When you listen to a Joe Quayle record, there is nothing like that you get at Damnation. Never mind even an art tangent. Yet she fits for whatever reason. She just fits with that audience. Synthwave Perturbator, for whatever reason, have just high lung fucking who's the other Viking reenactment fuckers?
Wardruna.
Wardruna. So they're just it doesn't make sense why what it is. Have they made a decision early in their careers? Have they gotten the right magazines? Why are Alcest still accepted so favourably by a black metal crowd because they released a black metal album 20 years ago? I don't make the decisions, Rob, why Perturbator and Ghost and Health and Carpenter Brute are all so wildly accepted by extreme metal fans, but because one is, the rest get support slots with them, then end up the same agencies, and then you're exposed to it as a fan. And next thing you know, your Perturbator's a perfect fit for something like Damnation alongside Joe Quayle. I had Joe Quayle in a Damnation Versus podcast. I was like, where's the other version of Joe Quayle? Where's There's other Joe Quails that we can all get excited about as well. And the answer was not, like they're not really there. It's not, she's doing something pretty unique to do this and be in the metal circuit ultimately. So aye, sorry I couldn't be. So I don't have a scientific reason for it. But I mean, do you feel the same when it comes to these genres that why on earth are Hylung a suitable band for Art Tangent when they don't sound like anything Art Tangent book?
Well, it's the fans, not the sound, that decides whether or not they fit. Having said that, a lot of these bands have metal elements in them. So whenever I put Ghost on, Ghost, Ghost, the synthwave band, Lizzie likes a bit of it because it's basically electronic music. And then some like proper heavy guitars come in and she tells me to turn it off. So it doesn't fit that it's all like poppy dance. I think a lot of these acts do have rock influences, but I also wonder, if they sit in sort of meetings at Metal Hammer or Kerrang and are like, well, we need some fucking more stuff to write about. What can we swallow in? What can we swallow into the rock world? Because once you start, I mean, there is an element of like, let's put a leather jacket on it and tell people and get some tattoos and tell people it's rock music. And there's a bunch of the stuff we talked about at 2000 Trees, like there's bands that the genre is like hyper pop, but they're a rock band and there's no sign of a guitar in sight. But Kerrang decided it was a rock thing. And I think Metal Hammer started featuring, well, what came first? Metal Hammer featuring Carpenter Brute or metal fans listening to Carpenter Brute? I don't actually know. But I
Yeah,
suspect that the magazines do have some impact on that. But really, for me and you, we're just following what people want, aren't we? And does my audience want to see Ghost and Carpenter Brute and Perturbator? Yes. Same
yeah,
at Damnation.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And you get, it's like what makes Weezer or Spanish love songs so appropriate for Kerrang but not Modest Mouse? You know what I mean? It's like that you put the Weezer record on and say a Modest Mouse record, you're not, oh my God, we've just went into two different genres there, but one is completely applicable and one's not. Aye, it's a fan-led thing, Rob. Next question. Adam Robertshaw. On average, what percentage of your final lineup each year is made up of bands from your top tier first choice list that you start with before you make the first inquiry of any agents? And which years have been your luckiest for both of you landing the most bands from your A list?
I mean, it's quite a hard question to answer in any sort of accurate way, but I think about 75% of the bands I make offers for end up confirming, which is not quite answering his question. But like if you go after a band, there's probably about 75% success rate on that. But then if you change that to headliners, the success rate is significantly lower.
Yeah,
Um, and really, you can't really answer this question about your whole lineup. You can only answer this question about the top bit of your lineup. So if I was to say take the top 10 bands at either 2000 Trees or Arctangent, some years I get 100%. I mean, this year at Trees, I booked five headliners, right? And I would say four of them were pretty much my first choice. Now that's
yeah,
when you take out the stupid ideas like Biffy Clyro and Deftones. Um, and some years it's zero. So like at ATG this year, Carnival was definitely in my first choice. But Wardruna I don't think it's any slight on Wardruna to say they weren't my first choice. They were like a left field option. Just like
yeah,
Clowncore when they got booked last year wasn't my first choice. So some years it can be 100%, some years it can be 0%. I mean, I'm already answering his question. The thing I think is important to do is not have a list that contains only impossible to achieve bands. Like, I'm going to get this band to reform, and I'm going to book Biffy Clyro to play a show smaller than, and I'm going to get the Mars Volta to play their first festival in the UK for fucking decades. You're just like, these bands are, or Deftones, have Deftones ever played a festival of our size in the UK? No. So is it going to happen? Maybe one day, but I don't know. So there's no point starting off with your list having you say top tier. Well, Biffy Clyro at Trees and the Mars Volta at ATG and Deftones at fucking anything is the top tier list, isn't it? But you're not really going to get any of those probably. So There's no there really. If it seems like I'm not answering the question, it's because you can't. That's the closest I can get to an answer.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, even right down to the concept, I mean, I get what he means. He's listening and he goes, "Oh, we've got that page one, the headliners list of bands you know." But I mean, it's not actually on a sheet of paper. It's in your head. You know that you'd love to get Deftones and Biffy Clyro and the likes to come and do your festivals. But even if you do send a long shot email, good, you're not expecting it from that. I mean, Damnation doesn't. I mean, let's pluck a number and say it's 50-50 over a finished product, Damnation, of bands we were actively going for and bands that landed in our lap or we were offered. It'd probably be a split of that. And they start whatever we would have put down across the three stages, it'd just be so ridiculous. It'd be so pointless because, I mean, just last week we made an offer for a band to headline one of the days that hadn't even crossed our mind before. Like, just the idea was sparked for it being a possibility, it being something a wee bit unusual. And we're like, okay, let's try that. So, but if that band was to confirm, we'd be pretty chuffed with it. It wouldn't like, even though that might have been the 24th offer that we have made for bands, they're definitely not the 24th most attractive. There's been bands that we've maybe went down that pathway that we were a bit like, Jesus, I reluctantly would book this if that was all that was left on the table. But we'd much rather have this band that have come up with an idea, a fresh idea, 24 offers later. So, aye, it's an odd one. I'll try to look at the posters by because you take Bolt Thrower, for example. Now, we wanted to book Bolt Thrower from 2005 and finally got them in 2014. So, again, that point being, you're always making that offer for 10 or 11 years for your festival. But you don't really see that like when you land, I don't know, whoever got a life agony or that. Like, it's not like the year that we had Dillinger Escape Plan or Devin Townsend playing. We're like, oh my god, I'm stuck with Devin Townsend because we couldn't get Bolt for. Probably at the time I was more excited about booking Devin Townsend than I was Bolt for. But Bolt for would still have been the first inquiry because it's just what we've done to try and get we
Yeah.
play. So it's not quite as clear cut in that as that. And definitely now, especially if you're booking, we're picking up slightly more packages now than we did previously. I think we get stung a wee bit the year that we're trying to just book everything UK exclusive. So the price goes up in every single band, and then if the tickets don't come through, then it really, you just shot yourself in the foot with an extra 25, 30 grand in your budget. So picking up a few more packages now than we have previously. And those ones, it's a bit like I have two slots that we're just sitting here waiting to see is that going to be an amazing band that comes with that headline band? Because there is genuine of them worse than the band that would have cost you 4 or 5 grand now available for two, and you've got no get a space for them. So aye, it's a slightly more layered process than just here's a list, put a ticket aside them because we'll have bands that are on our wanted list for this year lower down all stages that we haven't even approached yet because we believe we would get them on a day if we wanted them, if we needed them. But we know that there might be a left field thing that comes through that we wouldn't be able to get that if we booked that band. If you know what I mean. I don't know if I'm explaining that
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
If
yeah.
you fill that slot with a band you really want to play this year, but you know will be available next year, and then you get a band that drops at the sky and available this year, and you can't do it because you've already confirmed that band that were in your page one in your head, then it's frustrating. So, aye, it's not quite as clean cut as this would be the ideal lineup across all three stages, and then tick all the bands that come with it because it never pans out that way.
No. Okay, that's the best we can do with that answer. We neither of us quite got there because it's not scientific, is it? Okay, Tom
Right, well,
Muir.
right,
Go
one
on.
more.
Yeah. Well, we've got
Right.
two more. Can you
Right,
can
okay,
you
go for
not
it.
can you
Well,
squeeze them in?
here's an extent. I thought this was going to be like a 40-minute pod. It's another absolute
Well, we've
behemoth.
both got shitloads to do, but let's not think about that right now. Tom Muir says, why are High on Fire on the Saturday lineup in the app, even though they've played Damnation before? Do they have another tour lined up? So that was the only day they could make.
So don't. It's not as rigid. So the reason he's asking this is because what we're trying to do this year is have the Saturday being a lot of fresh bands playing their debuts, playing Damnation for the first time. That's less of an interest to me, of that theme is less an interest than what I'm trying to do with the Sunday, which is all the returning heroes and a bit of celebration of the 20 years of Damnation with a lot of friends that have been part of that story since day one. So the Saturday's only really a product of what we're trying to do on the Sunday. So it's not that rigid that I'm going to be like, I'm not going to book you unless I'm not going to put you on this day unless it's a debut, and you can only play this day if it's you and you've played Damnation three times before and it's about a returning hero, because that'd just be foolish. And right away, I mean, I think Author and Punisher are on and need to be on the Sunday, and they've never played Damnation before. And he's spotted High and Fire, who are playing the Saturday and did play Damnation in 2015. But Ghost also played Damnation or the After Party in 2019, and they're on the Saturday too because they're supporting Perturbator, who just happened to be a debut for Damnation. So there is no hard and fast rule. There will be scheduling issues. There will be, I mean, at the minute, Pig Destroyer are kind of going backwards and forwards between the 2 days like a table tennis game because they're coming in to do it at the UK exclusive. So ultimately, there's a slot in either day for them, what suits their schedule and flights and the prices they can get for getting backwards and forwards to America. So, aye, it's not that rigid. It will eventually be a very fresh day with a lot of 90% debuts against a day that's going to be 90% bands that are returning and celebrating with us after the 20 years. But I'm not going to exclude bands, including High and Fire, because that's the day they can play.
Okay, good. Good answer. Okay, right. Look, last question. Fuck knows how long I've been going for. John Simpson, what's been the most ridiculous fee you've been quoted for a band at either of your festivals? And it doesn't have to be the most money. It could be someone who sells 100 tickets normally but wants 10K. Um,
I mean,
what?
that's his second bit's more interesting and relevant than the top figure because nowadays getting quoted six figures for, I mean, you just live in that world anyway, but even I get quoted six figures, be it 100 grand or $100,000. It's more regular than you'd like to think now. And we're not really, with the budget we've got, we're not in a position to pay that. But we have this year alone, I mean, we were going to twice, like double what we'd ever paid for a band before to try and get some bands and couldn't pull it off. So the numbers going up for the top tier bands are stupid in comparison to what they actually sell. You put them on in Manchester, the venue we play, them asking for 100 grand is makes no sense whatsoever. You're throwing away money basically because you need a name at the top of your poster. But the smaller bands are where it gets really interesting. I mean, James mentioned previously about a band asking him for 12K. We won't mention the band, but that's every bit as ridiculous for that band that was asking for 12K is a band asking for 100K when they're worth 25. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of those bands that you go, oh, £1,000, you could do this as part of dating this, and we want 10. You're like, would you? Where are you getting that number from? Where are you getting that? Like, I can't see anywhere in the world where you could ever show up at 10 grand in any currency and bring anything like the fans through the door at any ticket price to make that work in any financial way. So where are you getting 10 from, other than the fact that some guy in Mexico has said that they would pay it, and then you just think that that's your fee?
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of that. A lot of that goes on. I feel like at the live, I'm going to say some stuff now where if you asked me at the live show to tell you the name of the band, I probably would on the tour, but I don't want. I want to be careful here, but there's a bunch of 2000 Trees suitable headliners out there who want 400 grand. And I look at them, I look at them on a download poster and they're next to the band I paid 100. And I look at where they're playing on other festivals across Europe and I'm like, they're not 400 grand. And there's more than one of these bands. And it's just like, well, I think we're a way off. You know, you think about how many tickets, how many £170 tickets you've got to sell to cover a 400 grand fee. And 2000 Trees is already going to sell out. Like, why would you go to that on your band budget? It doesn't make any financial sense, I don't think. So I'm desperate to name the bands. I'm not going to though. I mean, one band I can name is a few because they've changed booking agents, so fuck it. A few years ago, the Deftones, but he basically said to me, "We're not having a conversation unless I know that we're going to at least start at 250,000." Now, they have, given what they've just done in London, and anyone can do the maths. They're doing a headline show. If you times the ticket price by the number of people that are going to be there, you can do the maths as to what sort of money is sloshing around there. Deftones would be worth a lot more than £250,000 now to 2000 Trees. And again, it's just out. It's really, out of our budget. And there's a bunch of these bands. Once they suddenly, you know, bands often have a sticky patch. Like Limp Bizkit had a sticky patch when no one gave a fuck about Limp Bizkit. And now
Yeah,
everyone's like, oh, fucking Limp Bizkit. I love Limp Bizkit. And the bands get massive again. Korn have just done it, haven't they? I mean,
yeah,
Korn were like no one gave a shit. And I mean, people still gave a shit, but it was very ho hum,
yeah.
third from top, second from
Well,
top
it's
at
like
Stand Made.
again the numbers. So like, if you're a Callum Academy band and you're like, you can only like, where are you going to get to? 20 on tour, 25, 30 grand. I hope you sell out, make some money in the back end. I mean, the numbers are there. So you can get what you can get against the ticket price on 2,000 people coming through the door. And now, I mean, again, you try and get Con for $250,000 now, and they're like, mate, mate, you just try to cover our flights. Where's the rest? And well,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
still the space of about 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah. So it does just happen. So, some bands are realistic, some bands are unrealistic, and there's usually some lunatic promoter that will pay it. So, uh, if people want to pay bands more than they're worth, that's fine. But it's not going to, well,
To be fair, James, I
sometimes it's
think
me.
I think now in this day, I think we all pay bands more than their actual. Again, this is nothing to do because people hate that because everybody supports the artist side and we're the scumbags. But what we mean by that is they would not generate that by doing their own show. They would not generate the money, and we take a bit of hit because we understand it's a festival and there's no 80-20 split, and they have to concede some of their production and their stage time to the festival, and that's just part and parcel of being a festival promoter against But some of these bands that you're seeing playing to 150 people in a local circuit asking for 8, 9, 10 grand, it's just madness, utter
Yeah.
madness.
Yeah, it really is. Okay. I mean, fucking hell, when we said definitely before we did this that we would only it would be fine if we only did an hour. People won't complain because we're going on tour. And is this going to be now our like record breaking longest
Fuck,
ever
I
pod?
hope. The thing is, like,
It's like,
because I don't really know what's because I've been really struggling. I mean, I know I've always got a sniffle, but Jesus Christ, just some of the questions. Like, if I try to read that, I'm just going to be sniffling right through. I just feel like this cold's coming on. Like, this is not the time to be doing a 2 hour podcast. And I'm like, right, and next, the next, like, for fuck's sake, James, let me go and fetch the bingo cards, man.
yeah, okay. Well, let's wrap it up. Look, let's do on the record, and then you can go and get your flight, mate, and I'll see you in the morning. Fucking
Yeah, well,
yes.
you caught me out with this whole fucking plan today anyway. So the on the record, that was the last thing in my mind. I am going to come up with an on the record, but I do not have one here. So you wax lyrical about your band, and then I'll get something added.
Okay, well, my song is Betrayal of the South by Ren. If you like Neurosis, what the fuck are you doing? Listen to Ren. It's fucking great. We should get them back at ATG, I think. Brilliant band.
Okay, and they are. I mean, they are. I mean, they're a very claustrophobic band when you listen to them. It just feels that Cult of Luna, Neurosis, that whole ilk. If you're into it, definitely a band that could do a bit of support for the UK as well. One of our many, many great UK bands that sometimes get overlooked for the European or American equivalent, who often aren't quite as good. So, aye, good one. Hope that this isn't our record pod that we've just come on with literally no topic to get into, just fucking rambled for 2 hours along as I'm sniffling away in the background, want to rip my fucking nose off. So, tomorrow, mate, I will see you tomorrow. If you're listening to this and you happen to be coming to Bristol, we will see you tonight. Let's make this one a good one.
Fucking yes, mate. I will see you there.